good. That's good.
It
Yeah.
is good. We just saw that there was a countdown that flashed on the Riverside studio screen. So my guest Ann Stinson and I are cracking up about that. Hey, it's me. It's Jennifer. Jennifer Keller. If you don't know me very well, I'm doing a series of interviews with amazing artists and authors and people who have a lived experience with our theme this year of imperfect repair and adjacent branches from that topic. And I'm just going to say super briefly how I know Ann, and then we're going to dive in. I met Ann in a writing workshop last year. She's an author, published author, poet, and tends a patch of forest that she was raised on and has a steeped history with, and is the subject of her memoir that's also way beyond conventional memoir, from Oregon State University Press. And I think it came out in 21. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. It's called
Yep.
The Ground at My Feet,
Right in the middle of
Sustaining
COVID.
a Family in a Forest. Yes. And, what I'm actually going to do, it sounds boring, but I'm going to really kind of celebrate your book. I am going to read the description on the back, as though I am
Okay. All right.
giving
That's
a bookstore. I'm in my shed outside, so this is my bookstore shed.
Nice.
And it'll give people who aren't familiar with Ann and her work a little just sort of touch point for what this book is and who she is, and then we'll hear from her live. Ann Stinson grew up on her family's tree farm in southwestern Washington on a ridge above the Cowlitz River. After building a life in New York and Portland, she returned home at the age of 50 when her brother's death from cancer left her manager and co-owner of 300 acres planted in Douglas fir, western red cedar, and ponderosa pine. The Ground at My Feet is a memoir about loss and grief, as well as a portrait of a family, a region, and an industry. Combining personal story and research, Stinson weaves essays, poems, history, and science into a rich and layered account of life in a family forest. She maps interactions between the land and its people over 2 centuries, the Cowlitz peoples, homesteaders, and several generations of logging families who have worked the property. She follows her family's logs as they become lumber for fence boards in suburban homes, touring a local cedar mill and traveling with her father to visit mills in Japan. Stinson adds a landowner's voice to conversations about the human tendency to demand more of the land than it can sustain. I love that sentence.
Yeah.
With its uniquely personal view of the Pacific Northwest timber and forestry heritage, The Ground at My Feet is an engaging addition to the literature of the landscape and ecology of the West. It is lyrical. It is so just layered with amazing perspective and a poet's touch. So highly recommend. And also that Anne's a fabulous person, so that's a nice thing too. And I invited her to be my first guest about this theme because she and I have had an ongoing conversation about how is it that people often sometimes can slip into it and sometimes, or maybe intentionally doing it, have a sort of lush, glossified understanding of pristine nature. And how is it that there's so much complexity and texture to what we think of as wilderness or nature? And so she brings a really distinctive perspective to that, and to how do we somehow choreograph all the wrinkles and intricacies of what it means to call something a forest. What is it to think of something as a forest with native trees? Like all these phrases and conceptions that kind of become
Natural
part of
forest,
how we talk.
true forest. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's kind of like where we're coming from. And do you want to just kind of start us off by talking about kind of like the big view of what you and you're navigating on your forest there with your family, and also just give us a little window onto like what that is day to day.
Yeah. So a couple anecdotes from the last week or so. So we have 6 acres of a natural stand. We did not plant it. So all of the land that we tend was logged in 1905. Just and as was almost all the land around us. That's when all the first logging happened. The big scale logging by settlers, not the logging that native peoples had done. And so we have some of the trees are 125 years old, and so we've set aside 6 acres of those to not ever harvest and to use for walks and meditation. And but it's in a wetland. That area is in a forested wetland, and there's a lot of western red cedar that are dying. And western red cedar is experiencing a lot of dieback all over the western Washington, western Oregon, and not. It's probably because of drought, because we've got 20% less rain than we've had, in the last 10 years. We've had 20% less rain than we had for the first 40 years that we managed this land. So there's a lot of dead standing cedar in there, and also dead alder and grand fir. I mean, the trees are just dying in there. And so what do? Not all of the 6 acres, but probably I'd say 25% of the trees in that area are dead. And so my dad wants a healthy forest. He wants to replant trees in there, and he wants to take out the snags because they're a fire hazard. And I don't want to take them out. I don't want to plant trees for lumber. He's planting incense cedar, which is our replacement for the western red cedar because they're more drought resistant. And my sister-in-law, Lugene, who co-owns the tree farm with me, she doesn't want that either. So we've called Ken Bevis, who's the wildlife biologist for the Department of Natural Resources here in Washington, to come and look and see what kind of trees or shrubs we could plant to encourage diverse species of birds and wildlife. So I don't know what we're going to do there. Snags. Animals love snags, but how many is good? So it just, how do we repair that area? How do we restore it? It depends on the purpose, right? If those 6 acres were going to be timber production, then we would need to cut the trees down and replant a species that is good for timber. But that's not our goal, so we got to change something about that. So I don't know what we'll do there. Another example of what to do, and it depends on the purpose, is that we had a big windstorm in November, and it knocked a bunch of trees down. And we have something called laminated root rot in our soil, and it affects Douglas fir, and it's not just us, it's everywhere. And it's also exacerbated by the lack of rain. Anyway, in this one area where it's about a 40-year-old stand and really rocky ground, so they're kind of spindly trees, but they're marketable. And we had about 8 trees blow down in this 4-acre area. And they crossed the road. I mean, we can't get around. Right by the Wickiup, right where you and I sat, right in that area, Jennifer.
Yeah.
That is where we got a bunch of trees blew down. So we're going to log there and plant there.
Okay.
So that area, our goal is for it to produce lumber, as well as creating habitat for the animals, and all of that. Yeah. But we're going to plant Willamette Valley ponderosa pine there. It is not as susceptible to root rot. It can get it, but not nearly as bad. And it's a native species to the west of the Cascades. It was one of the first trees that settlers logged in the Willamette Valley in Oregon. And it's done really well on our site so far. So that's what we'll plant there. When one thinks about restoring, you have to think about your purpose. and for who, for what, and
Yeah.
when. I need to go get this book. Anna Maria Spagna, she's written a book called Reclaimers. Just one second.
Yep. Anne is stepping away, as we often do when we talk, to grab a book and check a reference. Check a reference or show a title. We are
yes.
the kind of person where people,
Reclaimers.
yes, books are people, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so this woman, she lives off on Lake Chelan, in Stehekin, with her wife, and but so she writes about what is it?
Is this a new book?
No, it's not. It's well, not that. 2015.
Okay.
2015. Yeah, she's written a lot, but this one I like quite a bit. But she writes. Reclamation was the word she decided upon after thinking through lots of different ones. The word I decided came down to 3 concepts: to take back, to make right, to make useful. The connotation was both moral and pragmatic, and sometimes the results were disastrous, but reclaiming seemed a nearly unstoppable human instinct. We want to fix stuff, right? Yeah. And then she also said a problem with reclaiming is that it often leads to displacing. And then she said, I had convinced myself that people who reclaim things always have some decent purpose in mind. That's the problem. The definition of a decent purpose is shifty.
Okay.
And it's so true. Yeah.
So let's just pause for a second, and I want us to talk a little bit more about language in the sense of, because we've had a lot of conversations about language, but let's pause for a second, and words like that pop out for me, and then you add your own, of course, like healthy, like what it is to have healthy forest.
Right.
And like you're pointing out, like reclaiming or restoring, but like for whom and to what end or for what purpose. And can you just talk a little bit about unspooling those words, like that it's not just, if I understand how we've talked before, like it's not just sort of doing it for theory's sake, but like it actually matters in the sense of, for you,
right.
if
what
I
do you
understood
do?
it,
Right,
like managing
exactly.
the
What
land.
will we plant? Right. What will we plant? What animals do we want around? How much money do we want to make? What products do we want to give to, to sell to the world? And yeah, so I mean, I think that everybody has a different idea of what a healthy forest is. It reminds me a little bit of when I was teaching school. People would say, well, we just want what's best for the kids. And you're like, okay, but what you think is best for the kid might be really different from what I think is best for the kid, right? So, I mean, to say I want a healthy forest, what are you talking about? Those words aren't very helpful at all until you get into the specifics of it. Yeah.
And so how has your family decided, or how do you talk about what the purpose is? Because it sounds like, from what you were describing before, you each may have slightly different versions of that. And like, how does your sense of purpose?
Well, my dad is old school. If he wouldn't have made those 6 acres of unharvested, he wouldn't have set aside those 6 acres, I don't think. I think he's very happy that they are there now. But I don't think that, because he, and I agree with him, every stage of the forest is beautiful. Every stage, the new, like right now we have 5 acres of harvested land that we just planted. So you look out there and all you see is stumps, unless you know what you're looking for, and then you can see all the baby seedlings. And right now, all these different flowers and berries are starting to pop up, and they wouldn't have been there because there's too much shade in the old trees, and lots of deer are wandering through there, and so you just have a whole different biosphere in a clearing than you do in a older forest. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful if you. There is something about the grandeur of older trees that I think humans we need it. Our soul needs it. I'm not sure how many critters need it. It's too dark in there. So that's not, the deer don't hang out in there. The bears don't hang out there. You get some woodpeckers and owls and things. I'm not a wildlife biologist, so I don't know who all loves the old forest. But some, obviously some species do. But species like all different kinds of forests, and even like when trees are about 15, 20 years old, they just create this really a dense thicket. And there's a little tiny owl, a saw-whet owl, that goes in there and lives because all the bigger owls like to eat that little owl, and they can't get in there. And so they need that thicket for a time. So, we can provide that if you just keep older forest, that's not going to happen. So my dad, he is, in his mind, every stage of the forest is beautiful. We don't need to have this set aside old stuff, but he's getting there. There's a few battles between me and Lugene and Dad, but we own it now, Dad. No, sorry, whatever. I mean, but no, he's still. I mean, I listen to him because he's been around. He knows his stuff. But I think we do have slightly different goals in mind than he does, and that's okay. We can discuss them.
Yeah, one thing I wondered about when I was looking at your book again, and I wondered. I'm trying to see, because I think that, because they use this phrase, the landowner's voice, and you are landowners, and the word settlers, and I was even just thinking about this before we got on, because I wanted to get Deborah Miranda's poem, and I can't find her book. I misplaced it somewhere, because it's a slim poetry book, and it's easy to misplace, and I was in the looking for it, even thinking to myself, because I was I know I own that book, and I was no, that phrase it's not quite right. It's I have purchased that book, but it's an odd thing to say I own that poetry book, right? And so do you mind saying a little bit about
it's a really interesting question.
Ownership.
Yep. And that, when I was doing research for the book, I I wanted to know who all had owned our land. So from 1885 or whenever the Homestead Act occurred, I can find the name of a person and the acres that they owned, and it's in a book, and there's a list, And then, before that, it's the Cowlitz tribe who owned the land, or it was, they lived on the land, they stewarded the land. It's not one person, it's a group. The boundaries were fuzzy, the Chehalis is over here, the Yakima is over there, the Chinook are down here. So there was some overlap, and there's all sorts of maps, but we're smack dab in the middle of Cowlitz historical tribal land. But even beyond all of that, the earth, we're here for a little bit of time, and the earth sustains us, and we need to sustain it. Um, However, land ownership is such a basis of our current society that I'm not sure we want to give it up. I mean, you own your house. Do you want to, do you say you just tend the house, or the acres? I don't know. I just finished reading. Oh my gosh, what was it called? By Karen Russell, The Safekeepers. Anyway, it's a really
yeah.
good book.
Yeah.
Um, but she is set in Nebraska, and she talks a lot about the native tribes there, and you kind of get the feeling that she wishes the rural people would give back the land to the tribes. Okay, how about your house in Portland? You're going to give your house back to the, how do we do that? How? Yeah, I don't know. It's a hard question. That's sort of aside from what the actual ownership means. But yeah, no, and we don't want to. We don't want to have a heavy hand, right? We want to help tend, but we also need to participate in our society. I think. I don't know. About Mary. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's a mucky juncture. I mean, yes. So, talk to me a little bit about. I know you've had different roles in terms of having to interact regionally with other family-owned farms. Are there ways that you're in contact with the Cowlitz? I feel like we've talked about that in the past about you move in many different communities, and sometimes I just would be curious to hear about, does your presence adjust to those different spaces?
Yeah. So my most recent interaction with the Cowlitz was the tribe bought, or was gifted actually, I think, 5 acres right along the I-5 between, well, anyway. And they're using it to plant camas. It was an open field that had been used for agriculture for I don't know how many years. Anyway, they're planting camas, which is a beautiful flower, but also the bulb is used as a starch in their cuisine. And I absolutely adore camas. It's one of my absolute favorite flowers. And we have about an acre of it on our land in a forest wetland, which is really unusual as far as I know. I've been trying to find out. So ours is underneath a bunch of ash trees. And everyone that I've shown it to, including a person who came from the Cowlitz tribe, was surprised because they think it's a plant that lives out in the open. Anyway, every year the Cowlitz have a camas planting day that anybody can show up to and plant. And so me and Lugine and her brother went out there and helped plant camas, and they provided lunch and so it was nice to chat with people there. And then when I wrote the book, I interviewed the guy who was the spiritual advisor for the tribe at the time, and then he introduced me to a guy who was working as a linguist with the tribe. But I haven't been able to maintain those relationships. The spiritual advisor guy, he passed. He was like 98 or something. He was old. And then the other guy, I don't know. They haven't, I've tried to reach out, and I don't get much. And that's okay. They don't need to humor me. But I would like to have a relationship with tribal members, or I mean, it's interesting. So I called the Cowes Tribal Gardens person, and she's the one who came out and looked at our camas, and she's a young woman from Mississippi. She's not Cowlitz, and so there's a ton of people working for the Cowlitz that aren't Cowlitz.
Yes.
So anyway, she was great, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, no, that's a great example. A couple weeks ago, I'm doing this like 3-part class with Writing the Wild. Have you heard of them before? It's like a nonprofit, but it's like set up by these 2 poets who got like MacArthur grants. I don't know if their grant is connected to these writing courses or adjacent to that, but to make a long story short, they offer kind of short form. I'll use the word course, but now that I've done one, it's almost more like gathering people in a virtual space to kind of try to, in an exploratory, organic way, figure out, what are the kind of, at this mucky juncture, the questions we can all be asking together. And so I've been taking this one with Rowan White, who's a writer and has the Sierra Seed Keepers organization, about kind of unearthing and carrying forward history through seed lineage, if I understand it correctly. And
interesting. Yeah.
She's amazing, and she blew me away for 1,000 different reasons in this class. And one of them that really stood out to me is she just very deftly was able to have very present, because it had like a visible presentation, she was there live, so she was there obviously as an embodied sensate person, but she had slides and like the things that you would use in a visual presentation, but she also interspersed it with people contributing and poetry, and it was really just this wonderful choreography of all the elements without domesticating anything, which is very tricky to pull off over Zoom.
Yeah.
And
right.
in particular, she was really able to hold in a strong way a placing at the center, not just off to the side, but like the political dimension of everything, just currently, but also in the things that she was talking about. And at the exact same time, it was like there was this meadow of creativity adjacent to that, where she talked about her own practice of every day going in close in to some particular live element in the natural world, and to give it the attention that there was like this co-calling for, if I could frame it that way. I mean, that's my language. I'm not speaking for her, of course. I'm just trying to give a sense of this practice she was relaying.
Looking close. Yeah. Looking close is an amazing thing to do. We so often just walk on by,
and it really just jumped out at me as how...
I don't know. What do you mean by domesticate? She didn't domesticate.
That you
said the woman did.
Yeah, like if... This was my impression of it, right? So that there was I felt like this practice and her whole kind of presentation as a whole was really trying to invite the creative potential of going close in these singular moment-by-moment ways. One, it's how we'll get through. And also, now she didn't say this, but like if I put it all together, I was like, and this is what made me think about it, like the Camas example, right? That this a tendency to sort of search for like overarching solutions and like the 10-step plan and like all those things, that there's a time and place for that, but there also can be a way that there becomes a kind of totalizing mentality around that. And I think that this sort of doing it, going close in with one being by one being, day by day by day, or like person to person interaction over and over and over again, it's a very different orientation, or it's a very distinctive orientation to recreating the order that we live in, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
so I'm just
No, I think
curious
that,
about that.
yeah. No, I think looking closely is important. Um, and like you said, you have to look at the big picture sometime. But you know, I mean, that's it's the problem with communism or capital. Whatever. These big systems don't work because we're messy humans, and and nature is messy, and so you got to have some kind of organizing system. But it's not. That's not where you should pledge. You should pledge your energy to the little thing. Yeah. So, yeah. Oh no, I had another thought in my head. Oh, the rewilding movement, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I sometimes I think it's a little bit dangerous. Um, we're here. Us humans are here, unless we don't want necessarily to live right next to the wolves or the wild stuff. I mean, we need something to be domesticated and for us to survive, right? And so, what's the balance there? One, but also, I don't know. I just read this really intriguing article. I don't remember where it was about recent. This is so awful, but recent murders. Like public, not family things, but people going out and shooting random people. And there's no political reason. They're like, it's not because they're anti this or anti that. They're just like, well, we don't really deserve to exist. And that's dangerous. I mean, how do we have love for humans at the same time that we have love for the earth? And why do we separate? Why do we see ourselves as separate from the product or the earth's gifts, right? We're animals. We're creations. If you want to have a creator, I'm not sure I do, but yeah, I don't know. I think that nihilism of humans' behavior is always a detriment to nature. That's not a good place to be.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if even this language of domestication and wild is better just to step away from, because
yeah,
it's like there's a well, I'll use the word simplicity, but there kind of is a simplicity of the cellular porousness across beings, at least in our
yes
makeup, right?
Right.
And speaking for myself personally, when I go close in and am with, and this is even where the language strains, I'm not looking at something, right? When I'm with the other form.
You're with it. You're doing a little dance.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And and something happens in that, right?
Yes. Yeah, it does. Yeah. My sister-in-law just sent me a pic. She's up on the Olympic Peninsula somewhere, and she sent me a picture of new to her organism. It's called wolf's milk. It's a slime mold, and it oozes a pink paste when squeezed. And when mature, it dries to release powdery spores. I know. I mean, it's just so cool. Anyway,
I love that.
Yeah. So
and you get to say powdery spores, which just sounds cool.
Yeah, right. I want to squeeze out the ooze, man. Yeah. Let me look and see what else I had here. Oh, I think one of the things I wanted to talk about. Where did we go back here? Hopefully I don't. Oh, there we go. the Erica Berry essay that I told you about, it is called The Fault of Time. And
Okay.
she's visiting a forest that she is her grandparents' property, and there's been a big fire there somewhere in California, and she's just so sad that everything is burnt up. Anyway, and she writes, amidst the precarity of human life, I craved a predictable landscape. I felt betrayed when the ecosystem, or my seasonal expectation of it, changed. Why did I feel I was owed a stable wilderness, a certain snapshot of the earth? If I first believed it was a product of simple nostalgia, I now think it was a problem of visualizing time.
Mm.
She's so good. Yeah, I don't know. That really
Mm.
struck me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fantastic because it really pairs with a couple of the examples you mentioned earlier of I know, like, if I, let's say 10 years ago, saw acreage that I would say was a clear cut, or I see the
mhm,
stumps in a
right.
field, or it does precipitate an instant reaction of a wrong has been done, right? Or
Right.
a, like, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Um, and sometimes that's the case, right? Or like when I lived
Yeah.
in Sumatra, right? You'd see the same thing, like
Right.
forest just cleared so they could grow a pot or something like that. But it's complicated, so I'm talking here in a quick way. But my point is just that she really, yes, there is something about the way that we look upon landscape, his cultural. We've been entrained in certain ways culturally and aesthetically, and also I like that focus on the time element. It
Yes,
is
exactly. Nature doesn't stand still. No, no,
yes, yes,
nature
yes,
is
yes.
not going to. Yeah, and I do think that, she's commenting on the precarity of our lives right now. I mean, I think everybody, I don't care what your political stripe is, feels an upheaval. Um, and so we're grasping for something that feels like it's going to stay the same, and we
Oh
think maybe
yes,
nature is it,
you know what that reminds me
but
of
nature is
is
not it.
yeah, I know. Yeah, well, yes, yes, and that's
Sorry.
exactly what
Yeah.
you and I have talked a lot about, which is because there is this slippery thing where, of course, as with anything, it's becoming its own kind of commodity in the sense of
Right. Yes.
people
Yes.
wanting to
Right.
look to it as
Exactly.
a form of solace and like a panacea to what's going on, and
Yep.
it's like just
Yep.
another form of being used, right, for a human need.
Yep. Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Put
the
it on a
slipperiness
pedestal.
is
Yeah.
yes, the slipperiness is how
Yeah.
to be with nature as we are it too.
Yeah. Right.
um,
Exactly. Yeah. 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 No, she gave. I
You know,
really.
that thing
That
you
was an
just said, I
interesting.
was like, oh, what is a passage from Mary Oliver that I could incorporate that speaks to what you and I have talked about a lot in terms of
Yeah. I don't know. I just found a new poem of hers. Oops. Dang it.
uh
It's called Beans. I thought I had it pulled up, but I don't. Here, let me find it on my.
okay, fine, yeah. I'll
Um,
read mine and then you read
um,
yours. So Anne and I
okay. Go ahead.
are always on the prowl for how to um not of course that Mary Oliver needs any kind of saving, but just to retrieve her from the Instagram world of being a quote and meme and anything that has anything to do with nature and people trying to feel good. Is that
Right.
fair? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So
Go
this one
ahead.
is from
Yeah.
her selected essays upstream. And this is the section called Winter Hours. And I've always loved this, but now it just really is apt based on what you were just talking about. In the winter I am writing about, there was much darkness. Darkness of nature, darkness of event, darkness of the spirit, the sprawling darkness of not knowing. We speak of the light of reason. I would speak here of the darkness of the world and the light of, and then she leaves just like an underlined thing. It's just open. But I don't know what to
Nice.
call it. Maybe hope, maybe faith, but not a shaped faith, only say a gesture or a continuum of gestures. But probably it's closer to hope. that is more active and far messier than faith must be. Faith, as I imagine it, is tensile and cool and has no need of words. Hope, I know, is a fighter and a screamer.
Ah, nice, nice. That's really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Things don't stand still. There's no tinsel. There's no. Yeah, yeah. No, I so the one I chose, beans. It's called beans, like the kind of beans you eat and
Yeah,
or
okay.
plant. Says they are not like peaches or squash. Plumpness isn't for them. They like being lean, as if for the narrow path. The beans themselves sit quietly inside the green pods. Instinctively, one picks with care, never tearing down the fine vine, never noticing their crisp bodies, or feeling their willingness for the pot, for the fire. I have thought sometimes that something, I can't name it, again, watches as I walk the rows, accepting the gift of their lives to assist mine. I know what you think. This is foolishness. They're only vegetables. Even the blossoms with which they begin are small and pale, hardly significant. Our hands or minds, our feet hold more intelligence. With this I have no quarrel. But what about virtue? So the reason I love this
Oh!
poem is because she is she's allowing nature to feed her, right? She says they are willing for the pot, they're willing for the fire, and their gift is going to assist hers. And I think that we can think about the forest, a working forest, that way. Their gift will assist us, and it is a gift, right? And we have to acknowledge the gift, not just you know tear it all
Yeah.
down. But we have, I think, I mean, it feels presumptuous. They can't talk to the trees. I can't ask them, hey, is it okay if I cut you down and use them for my table or to build a house? But I think they'd say yes. Not all of them, obviously. Not the 10% of the old growth we have left in this state. No, do not ever cut those down. But, we need wood. And wood is much better for the environment than cement or concrete or steel, right? I mean, if we're going to build anything, we should build it with wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. I love
Preaching
the
to the choir.
language of the
Yeah.
gift.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and it's Robert um, Kellemer, um,
Yes.
reciprocity is bringing
Yep.
sweet grasses. Yeah, that's the theme. Yeah.
Yep.
No, I think it's a good one. Yes,
Well, maybe
indeed.
we will wrap up our conversation on our
Okay.
new language of gifting and receiving,
Yes. Well, and I
and
like Mary Oliver in both of these poems. She says, "I don't know the words." Right? I mean,
yes,
in
yes,
your
yes, yes,
poem
yes, yes,
and
yes,
mine
yes, yes,
too, it's something I can't name it, and I think that's a good.
yes,
That's
yes,
good that we can't name everything. Right? Let it be. We don't have to
yes,
name it. Right? Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
That's good. Oh, can I have to finish with my Colbert story.
I would love it. Yes, thank you.
Now, so there's a little culvert on our land. The stream flows only in the winter, and it goes over the cliff down to the Cowlitz River. And
Yeah.
the culvert's flowing. There's no problem with the culvert. Um, but I really like to drop leaves in one end of the culvert and see them come out at the other end. And the were big blackberry vines and other dead grass and things clogging it, not clogging it, but covering the end of both sides of the culvert. So I had to reclaim it. I had to go there and hack out all the blackberries and other things so that I can watch my leaves. So that is my purpose for that reclamation project. So anyway, we have to pay
Yeah, I love
attention
the
to what our
whimsy in
purposes
that
are.
of
I know.
yes, 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 yes. Now, okay, do you mind sharing a little interior view of there's many different ways that reclamation could physically feel, like can you speak at all to yeah, like
Yeah, that was fun,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I had a machete, I had my clippers, I had loppers. Tom was out there helping me, and you're throwing crap. I mean, it's work, it's physical work, and that's fun. It's fun to do, and then just the sort of it's physical joy as well to watch the leaf come out the other end.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And what about
Yeah, no,
now? Obviously, I don't mean this in a simple way, like that the plant was consciously aware of you cutting it. Do you think it minded?
oh, you're breaking up. Say again.
Oh,
I didn't hear you.
oh, I don't mean this in like a too literal, like simple way, right? So the language will strain here. I'm not saying that the plants would have like a conscious like experience of your machete cutting through them, but I am curious about how. What do you think was going on with that?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Um, and the blackberries I was hacking were the invasive Himalayan blackberry plant, which that's another whole topic, right? Are
Yes,
invasive
yes, yes.
plants evil, right? I mean, can
Yes, yes,
can we
yes, yes.
enjoy the blackberries that come from them, right?
Yes.
So I don't have a whole lot of love for those blackberries, um, but yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. No, I was definitely destroying something, right? I was
Yeah.
destroying something to get what I wanted. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I
I
don't know
did. We
either.
did
I'm gonna
uncover.
be curious about it.
We uncovered a naturally plant a germinate seedling of a western red cedar that would have been
Uh,
choked by those
yeah.
blackberries if we hadn't gone there. So I put a
Yeah.
tube on it so the deer don't eat it. Um, so yeah, but even that, okay. So I put a deer that tube on it so the deer can't eat it. So the deer are gonna have to go find something else to eat. I mean,
Yeah.
we cannot be here without affecting,
Yes, yes, yes,
right?
yes, yes, yes.
We just everything we do affects, and how do we balance the effect with what we need, what it needs? Yeah,
Yeah, no, I love that example. It has the all of it in one microcosm, right? It's like
yeah,
the delight of the leaf making it through and
yeah.
the slice of the machete, right? We're both of those things.
Right, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's true. Uh, And then, of course, my elbow hurts because of the machete. So, and I'm old. Anyway, yeah, yeah.
Okay, well,
When
I'm
are you
so
coming
glad to
this
talk
way?
with you. Oh, I
Yes,
know. When am I
likewise.
going to get out there? Well, I definitely it might be a few weeks, but I'll get out there this spring.
Oh, good, good, great.
Yeah.
It'll be wonderful to see you.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yes, yeah, good. Alrighty. Well, thank you so much.
Okay. I hope your mouth and just had some
Oh,
tooth
I'm
work
glad
done.
it just
So
started
yeah.
doing this. Oh,
Oh, was it starting to hurt?
yeah. I can't. Somehow you're breaking up right at the end here.
Oh, okay.
What?
Okay, well, I'll sign off and I'll be in touch and
Okay.
I'll
Yeah.
coordinate with you about when I can get
Okay.
out there. Bye.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Jennifer. Bye.
Bye.